What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA show. And we are back with, of course, me and Justin. And we got another guest, Justin's son, Ben, who's going to be helping us out with the podcast going forward. And he wanted to talk about some of these crazy fights. There's so much MMA news going on. So it's just crazy. I'm so excited. It's such a great time to be an MMA fan. And maybe particularly because we're talking about UFC fights, to be a UFC fan. And it's just so exciting. So anyways, and Justin, your gym is on fire. Some crazy stuff happening at Extreme Couture. But we're going to talk about all of that. And we're going to kind of start at the top of the list with one of your teammates. And we're going to talk about this potential fight. So it hasn't been announced. Nothing's been said. But we had this crazy fight with Duplessis versus Strickland. It was going to be Duplessis versus Israel Adesanya, which was going to be a fire fight. Like, just would have been an amazing buildup. But Duplessis is pretty much out. It's not 100% confirmed, but Ariel Helwani, a bunch of people have been talking about it. He's probably not fighting. And so they're going to need a replacement. Strickland just had an amazing victory. So I wanted to start it off. Justin, obviously, you're the pro going to get your feedback. So, like, what do you think about this matchup if it happens, Strickland versus Izzy, which I think it 100% needs to happen? This is going to be amazing buildup as well.
I mean, this is an incredible opportunity for Sean Strickland. Sean is one of the hardest working guys in the gym, whether you love him or hate him, especially, his interview, his personality, whether you love him or hate him, the guy works his ass off. He's basically came from nothing. He's put himself in a potential title shot position. I am so excited for him. I love Sean Strickland. He's one of my favorite fighters. He's one of the nicest guys in the gym. Like I said, I know a lot of people don't agree with some of his antics, but the thing I love about Sean Strickland more than anything is he's real, man. This is not a persona. This is not a Colby Covington act. This is Sean Strickland. Sean is who he is. He's earned his way. That motherfucker's in the gym every day of the week, busting his ass. He deserves this title shot.
And you can tell that's just like him. I think people are intuitive, and there's a reason why people like him. It's because you can sort of you get that vibe that's how he is, and he just wears it. And he's funny, and he's really funny. And he hold on, I'm just gonna mute you guys for now, just getting a little background noise. So, like, he's so funny, and he's just gonna, I don't know, I love Izzy. I'm a huge Izzy fan, but it's gonna be pretty hilarious to see the two. Let's talk about their styles of fighting. And I know Sean, okay, I've been hearing a bunch of things, so I want to talk to you about this, Justin. I've heard that I think Bisping said this, somebody said this recently this week, that Strickland's wrestling and grappling, and even Sean said this, like, he said, man, you think my striking, something like this, you think my striking's good, but my wrestling, my ground game is even better, even stronger, something along those lines. Like, what do you think about his ground game in an Izzy fight, Sean? Justin, what are your thoughts on that?
Sean is a big, powerful dude. The guy can grapple. The guy can wrestle. He can put it all together. In his fights, he just chooses not to. Sean is a bully in the gym. He's a bully in the cage. He's going to walk Izzy down. I would love to see him display some wrestling. I'd love to see him put Izzy on the fence and try to gas him out and grind out a victory. But knowing Sean, knowing his style, I think he's just going to see, just like he did with, he just got
Pereira.
Yeah. Like, why isn't he trying to wrestle him? Because he wants to show that he's the baddest man on the planet. He wants to stand with the best strikers in the world. Izzy just knocked out Pereira. Pereira knocked out Sean. I would love to see a game plan come through by Eric Nixick to come to engage in wrestling and try to gas him out on the fence, kind of like Blachowicz did against Adesanya. Try to wear on him with his size and stuff. But I think, I'll be honest, I think Sean's going to go in there cock strong and try and knock Izzy out.
So you think the probability of him using his wrestling is low once again?
Yeah, I would think.
And just to clarify, this is not like inside information. You haven't talked to him about this. So I just want to put, we're not saying this is what he told, nothing like that. But you're in your gut. What does your gut tell you?
My gut says he's going to stand and bang. My gut says he's going to walk him down, and he's going to eat some shots, and he's going to try to hit Izzy harder than Izzy hits him, man. I mean, Eric Nixick, I believe, is going to be coaching him for this fight. I saw Eric and Sean at the gym this morning. Eric's really smart. He's a master of game plan, so I know he's going to be telling Sean to engage in wrestling. But will Sean listen? I mean, at the end of the day, Sean's the one there in the cage. Sean's the one that's going to have to engage in the wrestling. And if he does, how long is he going to engage? Is he going to take one shot in the first round? Is he going to try and take him down every round? Is he going to implement, his takedown and grappling early on in the fight and keep it striking later on? I have no idea, to be honest. You know, I haven't talked to Eric. I haven't talked to Sean specifically about it. I'm just finding out this information yesterday. So I would love to see Sean use the size. I'd love to see Sean use the strength in grappling and wrestling. But again, I think he's going to go in there and try and knock the champ out.
Well, either way, it's such an exciting fight. It's fantastic. I can't wait. I do hope he uses some wrestling. And it's one of those fights where I'm such a big fan of both fighters. I know Strickland. I know Sean likes to talk smack about Izzy, but hey, I mean, you got to be you have to be somewhat of an Izzy fan if you're an MMA fan, right? Like, so I'm such a huge fan of Izzy. I'm a huge fan of Strickland. He's so funny. I love watching his fights. I love his fighting style. So I can't wait. We'll see what happens, and I kind of do hope he does use some wrestling because I just think it's part of his skill set. But I guess we'll see what happens. Now let's move on to another teammate of yours, also all over the news. During the last couple of weeks, his fight got announced with Tyson Fury. Still can't even believe it's happening. There was so much doubt, so much speculation, so many people talking smack about Ngannou and saying he had kind of messed things up, this and that. And it turns out, and like, it doesn't even make sense, like how this all worked out. And nobody, still haven't publicly said what the payout's going to be for the Ngannou versus Fury fight. But what people have said is that he's going to make more money on this, which I believe 100%. It has to be true. He's going to make more money with this fight than his entire UFC career. I know it has to be above 10 million for the Fury fight. I'm guessing between 20 and 30 million. That's just a wild guess. But regardless, whatever it is, what are your thoughts? Like, how excited is the gym for this fight? How excited are you for this fight?
You know, I'm so excited for Ngannou. Again, one of the hardest working guys. You know, that's one thing Extreme Couture produces time and time again is these guys. We're just outworking guys, man. Sean Strickland's getting there every day. You know, Francis is in there every day, works his way to the top of the UFC, becomes the UFC champ, and then, you know, starts making demands, just like the champ should. He starts making demands. Dana White doesn't meet his demands. He leaves him. You know, a lot of people, you know, talked a lot of shit about Ngannou. Oh, he fumbled the bag. Quote, he fumbled the bag. No. He didn't fumble the bag. I know for a fact, I don't know exactly how much, but I believe it's $10 million.
Oh, really?
Digits. I know it's 8 digits for sure.
It's got to be 8 digits. It has to be 8 digits. By the way, we have a comment here from Western Mass Climber saying that Strickland's going to win this in the press conference. He's going to break his brain. That's probably true.
Sean's just really, really clever for the game, you know, and he's one of those guys that you're going to tune into because he's such a great shit talker. And whether you love him or hate him, you're going to want to tune in and watch this guy.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, sorry to change it up. But anyways, yeah, so dude, this is so crazy. I want to talk a little bit about the fight. Now, look, I am going to go see the Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz boxing match. But I'm not a boxing fan, really. I'm seeing it because it's Nate Diaz. And actually, I respect a lot what Jake Paul's doing. But anyways, so I don't know much about boxing. But you know, you're hearing people talk about the fight. Tyson Fury's in his prime, and he's the best boxer, potentially heavyweight ever, one of them at least, but possibly the greatest of all time. And you know, Fury is, Ngannou is just such a beast, got so much power. So, like, strategically, what are your thoughts on the matchup here?
You know, I saw that. I don't know if this is true or not. You'll probably be able to verify, or maybe I can have Ben look it up on his phone. That Wilder weighs like 230 pounds. Is that accurate?
Deontay Wilder, or you mean Tyson Fury?
Deontay Wilder.
Oh, I don't know. But Ben, you're nodding your head.
Said, yeah, is that true, Ben?
Yeah. He walks on at like 230, 250, somewhat like that.
Well, 230 and 250 are that's a 20-pound difference.
Well,
but
I'm saying he has no legs. He has no legs. He's chicken legs. He's all upper body.
So we're looking at that as, you know, Tyson Fury got dropped by Deontay Wilder by a big overhand right from a 230-pound man, and I can almost guarantee. And the only reason I can't guarantee it for sure is because I don't have a power punch. But Francis Ngannou is a mountain of a man. Me and his locker are right next to each other. When I walk by him, it's like I have to turn and look up to this man as he walks by. He's wider than me. He's fucking a foot taller than me. He has so much punching power, and I don't really know what size gloves they're going to wear, but I just don't know how Tyson Fury is going to be able to wear those shots. You know, for Fury, he's really going to have to put it on Ngannou, put him in the corner and wear on his arms, take away that power, because if Ngannou lands a clean shot, I don't see Fury getting up.
It's 10 ounces was what Ngannou said in the last interview, I think with Ariel. He said he thinks they're going to be 10 ounce. So none of the 4-ounce things. But Jesse on Fire was saying that 4-ounce gloves would probably favor Tyson. So it's probably better that they're 10 ounce.
Yeah, I think the 4-ounce gloves for Tyson would cut because he's gonna pop shot him. He's gonna be working his jab. Trying just wear on him through the rounds because again, and Ngannou's going into boxing. He's never boxed before. Boxing and MMA striking, it's apples to oranges. It's like American football to UK football. Like it's not the same. It's nothing close to the same. So, I think Fury's going to pump his jab away. And if he had 4-ounce gloves, that means he's going to cut him up. These 10-ounce gloves are going to put a little extra protection, but not much. And, I think with how much power Fury has that the 4 ounces is still, the 4 extra ounces is still, the 6 extra ounces isn't going to be enough to slow his shots down.
And how cool is it that they're doing this in Saudi, right? Like, I don't know if you saw the fight announcements. This is happening in Saudi, run by the Saudis. Like, this is going to be such an crazy, amazing event. So anyways, it's obviously favors Fury. But like you said, they're two different sports, but Ngannou's got that crazy power. So this is going to be exciting. I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm excited for just because it's one of your boys. And wow, what amazing stuff is just happening at Extreme Couture. So the next topic I want to go to is the Duplessis fight, Duplessis versus Whitaker, because you did say, which I don't know. Look, man, you're the expert, okay, but I watch a lot of stuff. I didn't even see anybody pick Duplessis. You kind of picked him. You were like, he just keeps finding a way to win. I don't understand it. You're like, I think you said something like, I'm going to put money on Duplessis if I'm able to, something like that. So like, he won, he pulled it out. Give me your thoughts on the fight.
What an incredible performance, and you're exactly right. It's hard to count somebody out like him because he just wins. So, I don't want to say ugly, but like he just finds ways to win. He's awkward. He always looks gassed out after the first round. He looks like after the first round, I'm like, oh, this fight's over. And he just keeps finding ways to win. He keeps amazing me over and over and over. Going into this fight, his only loss, Robert Whitaker's only loss was to the champ. Like, I'm pretty sure that was his only losses. So, yeah, how could you have bet against him? But then you have a guy like Duplessis who basically has nothing to lose going into this fight, and he keeps finding ways to win. Well, he did it that night. He found a way to win against one of the best in the world.
I'm kind of a fan. I am. I become a fan of his. And I remember when I watched him against Derek Brunson, that was the first fight of his that I watched all the way through. And I'm like, he just didn't look good. I thought for sure he was going to lose.
Exactly.
And he pulled it out. Couldn't believe it. But I still wasn't like convinced that he was so great. And then he had his next fight that he won. I'm blanking on who he fought after Derek Brunson. Oh yeah. What's his name from the UK, who's out of the UFC now?
Who's it, Ben?
Oh, hold on, Ben. Who is it?
Darren Till.
Darren Till. There we go. Sorry, and I'm just muting you guys occasionally just to cut out the background noise, but that's correct. Yeah, that's exactly right. Then he beat Darren Till, and then I was like, okay, a little bit more, and then, man, I just can't believe he beat Whitaker, but he did it. He pulled it off. So amazing. And I guess this fight's not happening with him versus Izzy next, but I guarantee you, if Izzy beats Strickland, it's happening after that. What are your thoughts?
Again, I've become a fan. The first couple times I saw this guy fight, I didn't care for him. Like, he kind of is. He has an ugly style. He looks gassed out after 1 minute. Like, it's like, whatever. I take it or leave it. But now I see him as an underdog. But he's a live underdog. And live underdogs always get me excited, man. When guys are supposed to lose and they win, they find ways to win. They dig deep. That gets me excited about a fighter. I'm excited about this guy. I'm excited about his future. I'm excited to see where he goes in the sport.
And he's big, and he likes to wrestle. He wrestled against Whitaker. Obviously, he's going to wrestle against Izzy. Strickland may not. Maybe. I hope he will, but
I hope he does.
Duplessis, dude, this is an interesting fight. And again, just to clarify, I'm a huge fan of Izzy, but I'd almost want to take Duplessis at whatever the odds will be. So, anyways, like I said, just so many exciting fights. Now, real quick, I do want to touch on the whole Izzy going into the cage and yelling all that stuff, which to me. Let's be real. Let's be real here. All this stuff, he's throwing it out there, acting like he's offended. I think the reality of the situation, I don't think Izzy cares at all. I think he's making a show out of it. Obviously, Duplessis is not a racist dude. He's like, let's be real, right? Like sometimes people are alluding to that. It's clearly not that. You listen to his statements. This is all just silliness. However, it's kind of an interesting storyline if you add it in. So I think it does add fuel to the fire. I think Duplessis is legit like annoyed that people keep bringing it up. I really think Izzy doesn't care, but he's acting like he does. What are your thoughts on all this crazy drama?
Honestly, I think they're just trying to sell a fight. They're trying to make something out of nothing, just to get people talking about it, just to get guys like you and I talking about it. I mean, this is the dumbest. It really is. I think it's just the dumbest shit ever. Like, yeah. Dude, like, I don't give a. I personally think it's fucking stupid. But again, they're selling a fight. They're selling a guy that doesn't have a Duplessis doesn't have this huge following. He's not a great shit talker. So hats off to the champ finding things to bring up that they can talk shit about, because I mean, that's at the end of the day, they got to sell tickets. That's why Conor McGregor is in the position he is, because he talks shit. He went after Khabib's family, went after his dad, and everyone's like, oh shit, I want to see Conor McGregor get his ass whipped. So everybody tunes in, and this is the exact same thing. He's pulling the race card, which is just getting pulled so often these days. Man, you look the wrong way, you become a racist. I'm so sick of hearing about it. I wish he took a different approach or found a different avenue, but I get it. People are talking about it. We're talking about it. The people watching us right now are listening to us talk about it. It's on ESPN. It's on everything. I mean, I think it's a Bush League way to go this way. I mean, dude, go old school, man. Start talking shit about his family or something. Come on.
Well, it is exciting to for the fight, just for the pure seeing the competition. We're excited about that, I think. And
by the way, that hat you have is fire, dude. I need to get me one. Badass. Yeah.
Gorin Brothers. I've been repping Gorin Brothers. Yo, everybody wears Gorin Brothers today. I've been wearing Gorin Brothers for 10 years. I have a hat collection going back 10 years before they were cool and before they were popular. So shout out to myself for that. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, which is this crazy fight that I think got announced last night. And I want to turn over to your son, to Ben. By the way, Ben, just quickly tell us, because you're a huge fan, but you also train. Obviously, your dad's a professional fighter. So tell us about quickly your background in mixed martial arts.
I don't really have a background. I just go to wrestling practice for like an hour or two a day. I lift. I just got done lifting like a couple hours ago. And that's basically it. I mean,
but you did mention to me that like you're potentially, not for sure, right? But you're potentially interested in pursuing more mixed martial arts because you like wrestling, or how would you put it?
Yeah, I really do like wrestling. Fighting it could be an option. I don't think I'd be very good at it unless I started like when I'm young, but I don't know. Yeah. I feel like I would have a really good wrestling background if I were to ever do that.
100%. So you know the sport of wrestling. So this is perfect. So let's jump right into this Islam versus Oliveira matchup. You've seen Islam's wrestling. I'm sure you saw the first fight. But man, Oliveira looked good against Beneil. So I'm really kind of confused as to what I think about this fight. But let me turn over to you. What are your thoughts on the matchup, and what do you foresee happening in Abu Dhabi?
Oliveira improved a lot, I think, over that fight against Beneil. I mean, he changed his stance. He changed a lot in that fight. He seemed like more of a boxer in that fight against Beneil. He didn't shoot right away.
So yes, yeah. Give me some more of these details. This is great. So from the technical side, see, I didn't even notice that. So you said he changed it. How did he change his stance?
So in Islam versus Oliveira 1, I watched it live. I woke up at like 9:30. It sucked, but it was worth it. I'm a huge fan of Oliveira, but he has that, I don't know what it's called, but like he always brings his left knee up when he's walking him down. Like he brings it up after every single step, like to check those kicks. Yeah. Oliveira was like he did not carry it. He seemed like he had more of a boxing approach against Dariush.
Interesting. Okay. And then how do you think that's going to translate with these, or first of all, okay, two questions together. One, how do you think this is going to translate to the Islam fight? And, or do you think he's going to use those same tactics, or he's going to probably come up with a different game plan? Like, what are your thoughts?
I think he should outbox Islam. I mean, against Volkanovski versus Islam, in my personal opinion, I had Volkanovski winning that fight, but I could see it going either way. But I think if Oliveira manages to stay away and defend some of those takedowns or get some of his own, I think he secures the win.
Interesting. So are you you're leaning towards Oliveira?
Yeah, I want Oliveira to win.
Interesting. I'm such a fan of both. I have to say, like, probably maybe slightly leaning. I would like to see Islam win, but I'd be so happy for either of them. Hey, yo, what about that in the last fight? Oliveira learning English. Did you hear that? Do you remember that? He got on the mic. I love that. Like,
hello, San Diego or something.
he said, and he talked a little bit, and he said a couple lines. I can't remember what he said.
He was like, "Hello, San Diego. I no speak English" or something like that.
It's
I'm
so
still learning.
It's like when a fighter that English is their second language, and then they take the effort to learn and then connect. It's like a new side of them opens up, because you're just hearing the translator. You can't really connect with them. I'm saying from a fan perspective, right? And then you all of a sudden hear them English, and you're like, oh my God, I don't know. It was just so cool to see that. So that really excited me. And his English is going to be even better by the time he fights Islam. But anyways, yeah, it's such a tricky thing. Justin, what are your thoughts on this fight?
I really like what Ben's saying here. Coming out in the more of a traditional boxing stance, keeping Islam at range. He's gonna have the range advantage here, pumping a jab at Islam's face, giving something to work around. Now Islam can strike, man. This guy's no slouch on his feet. Ever since even before he was the champ, people talked and compared him to Khabib. Said he's Khabib 2.0. He's Khabib's wrestling with much better striking. With that being said, Oliveira can take damage if he gets dropped. He's fine off his back. Well, he obviously wasn't in the first one, but he's relatively comfortable off his back. Probably better than any 155er right now. But again, he keeps him at range with that jab. If he can play the in and out game, make Islam miss, get him frustrated with his takedown. I mean, I would love to see Oliveira win. I'm a huge Oliveira fan. He has an incredible story coming out of Brazil, delivering pizzas. He's been in the UFC since 2011. He started his UFC career with a losing record, and now he worked his all the way to arguably one of the greatest of all time. I would really like to see Oliveira win. Islam is, I hate to say, don't call me racist now, but I hate to sound racist. I don't care for, the Russian fighters, not because I think they're bad guys. I think they're all great. I train with a bunch of them, but they're just all exactly the same. I smash you. They're so monotone. They're not emotional. And I just, I enjoy watching the sport for that WWE factor. That's why like Khabib and Conor was just such great. But honestly, Khabib is the better fighter, and obviously he showed it in the fight. But Conor carried that fight. If Conor doesn't talk shit during that fight, nobody's going to tune into that. And unfortunately, same thing for Islam. I think Islam's an incredible fighter. Arguably, obviously, he's one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. But I can take him or leave him. You know what I mean? Like, I'll watch him fight. If I miss this fight, I'm not going to be bummed about it. Oliveira on the other side, because being in the UFC and going through bad fight spells, which obviously I'm going through right now, and being able to dig yourself out of that hole after going through these holes just like he did, that's so inspirational to me. Somebody that's always been on top like Islam. He's winning every fight. He's awesome. He's dominant, but he's never had to face any adversity. It's not that I don't respect him. Obviously, he's just incredible. But I just respect a diverse story so much more, and Oliveira brings that to the table.
I get it. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I can see that perspective too. You being a fighter, going through kind of similar things, so I totally get that. I do just want to say one other thing. I'd love to hear Ben's thoughts on this, because it's almost like a fringe, almost like a bit of a conspiracy theory. But I thought that when I saw the Volk versus Islam fight, and I know you said you scored it for Volkanovski. When I saw that fight live, I was convinced that there was something wrong with Islam. Like, he looked really slow at the beginning compared to him versus Oliveira. Like, something looked majorly off. Nobody talked about it. Islam has never said it, but then that weird story came out about him using an IV after weigh-ins, and that came out, and they didn't deny it. It sounded like maybe it probably did happen, but it sounded like an honest mistake. But then that made me think more like, dude, something looked wrong. Islam looked off in the Volkanovski fight. Ben, what are your thoughts? Did you feel anything to this theory, or what do you think? And do you think Islam is going to look very different as well in the next Oliveira fight, kind of like back to how he looked in the first Oliveira fight?
Well, Oliveira, when he fought Oliveira, he looked very confident. I mean, Oliveira fought 4 times in the same year against all top 5 contenders. Islam's fought maybe 2 guys in the top 5, and one of them weren't even in his division. One guy was smaller than him. So, and he just called out Leon Edwards for like the welterweight fight. I mean, but I'm getting off topic. Sorry.
Okay.
But I did hear that he did take an IV after, I don't remember which fight it was, but I heard he did take something
before the Volk fight, before the Volkanovski fight.
Yeah.
Did you think he looked off at the beginning of the Volkanovski fight, or no? Did you feel like he looked normal?
Well, I can't really answer that because for the first 30 seconds of the fight, I was at a restaurant and I was in the bathroom.
Oh,
So
got you. Okay. So like
yeah,
that's my theory, or that's what I thought I observed. It seems like I'm probably one of the only people that have mentioned this, so maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, even your dad doesn't seem to notice that. So I think I might be wrong on that, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay.
Well, real
Yeah.
quick from experience, I have done IVs after weight cuts before, not in the UFC, but on the regional show. When I had to cut down to 45 for the first time and I missed weight, I took an IV after. That IV slowed me down, man, because it makes you hydrated immediately. But man, I felt really sluggish in my performance. I mean, I was able to get the win, early on in my career, like 2017 or something. But man, coming out, I just felt really heavy. So for you to say that and to notice over for the Oliveira fight, I mean, that definitely is a possibility. That definitely could have slowed him down. Now, when you talk about him talking about going to 170, like Ben mentioned, of going to 170, that tells me that his weight cuts are hard. And if
Yeah.
he has hard weight cuts, that could be another factor too. And he's like, oh fuck, I'll just go to 170, trying to fight Leon Edwards, which is a good matchup for him. He's not going to have as hard of a weight cut, and he might be more fresh. So there might be a 170 transition here in the near future for Islam.
And also, I think that'd be dope. I think that'd be great. I'd love to see him at 170. And that takes us to our next topic, because this guy, KHAMZAT, also recently called out Leon, but I think it was just a random call out because he'd already been scheduled, or right about to been scheduled, to fight Costa. So, all right, I got to say this. KHAMZAT is probably at the top of my list. It's close, right? But he's probably at the top of my list for who I'd want to see next in the U. I've been waiting for this guy to fight. I love KHAMZAT Chimaev. He's so fun to watch. And now he's been matched up with Paulo Costa, which is Paulo Costa is such a funny dude, and he's a great fighter. So I'm actually very excited about this. And it's on the Abu Dhabi card. I can't believe it. Like, what a stack, just with those two fights, so stacked. So let me turn it over to you guys first. Let's go back to Ben. I'd love to hear Ben's thoughts first. So, like, first of all, what do you think of this matchup? Are you excited about it?
yo, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Hamza. I mean, I don't really follow Costa. I just heard about him after he got knocked out by Izzy really bad, but that's a kind of bad way to hear about a fighter. But I think Hamza just takes him to the ground right away. Within a minute, I think he shoots one or two takedowns and takes his back.
And what about his ground game, his jiu-jitsu for Paulo Costa? What do you think? Do you think it stands a chance? Either you guys, Justin or Ben. Like, what are your thoughts? Let's go to your dad. Let's flip it back to your dad,
Okay.
Justin. Like, what do you think of Paulo Costa's ground game being able to fend off KHAMZAT?
I think at first, because he's such a big, strong dude, the guy looks like a bodybuilder, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of show muscle there that he's carrying around. And I think Ben hits it straight on. If KHAMZAT can get him to the ground, I think by the end of the first round, maybe the end of the second round, he's going to gas Costa out and have his way with him, whether he wants to knock him out on the feet or beat him up on the ground. I think KHAMZAT's plan needs to be to get him to the ground. He can't. I don't want him to see him take any damage because Costa has such knockout power. I'm not favoring either. Personally, I'm not favoring him. I think KHAMZAT's going to win the fight. I think it's an incredible matchup for him. I think it's the perfect fight for this weight for him because, again, they don't want to put him against a solid wrestler just yet. And I'm not saying Costa doesn't know how to wrestle. If you're the top in the UFC, you know how to wrestle. But KHAMZAT's the wrestling is on another level than most. And, I think the game plan for KHAMZAT's going to be the same as it is all the time. He's going to come in, throw some big shots, and try to get him against the fence, trying to get him on the ground, wear on that show muscle, and gas him out and have his way with him later in the fight.
It's such a strange thing. I remember when KHAMZAT first busted onto the scene, people were talking about, like, dude, I remember people saying specifically, we're about to witness the rise of somebody. Kind of like when you're watching Conor rise back in the day and just see him go up and up and up and talk all the smack and just build this huge fan base. And it's just such an exciting ride. And we're like, okay, we're about to see KHAMZAT go on the same journey. He had beaten like 4 guys. He was undefeated. He was just destroying everybody. And then everything's kind of been slowed down. But I think everybody's been anticipating he's going to be a champion, at least a champion in one weight division, maybe 2, maybe 3. He's got big dreams. He's so amazing. Now we're finally at this point, right? But it's such a weird time. You've got all this, and Ben, I'd love to hear your thoughts just kind of as a KHAMZAT fan. Like, we got all this backup in every division, right? Leon's supposed to fight Kobe, and Kamaru Usman. That fight with Khamzat never materialized. I think it was a weight issue, but now we got Khamzat fighting Costa. But what's going to happen, right? We got Izzy fighting Strickland, probably. Then they're going to win. Then let's say Izzy probably, or no, well, not probably, but let's just theoretically pretend like Izzy's going to win. And then what's going to happen next? They're going to plan the Duplessis fight, I imagine. But then Khamzat wins in October. Like, what do you see after let's say he beats Costa, which is probably going to happen. What do you see, Ben, after this for Khamzat? Like, when do you see him getting a title shot?
Well, let's say Khamzat dominates Costa. I think if Duplessis is still out, they're just going to give it to him if Izzy beats Strickland. If that fight ever does happen, I think Izzy is going to go after Khamzat. And I think Khamzat just – I'm a big fan of Izzy, don't get me wrong, but I think Khamzat just ragdolls him on the ground because Izzy has, like, no wrestling, I feel like. But he has wrestling, just not – it's not perfect.
He's got like he's got like takedown defense and he's got some wrestling. He said, I mean, he claims to have really good takedown defense, but I don't know against Khamzat.
I mean, you saw what he did to Kevin Holland, and Kevin Holland's supposedly a black belt. Like, you've seen him in the gym and stuff. I mean, Kevin Holland, I love Kevin Holland. Like, he's probably my favorite welterweight. But Khamzat, he stood no chance against Khamzat.
Yeah, I agree. So that would be, I think that would be cool. I think if Izzy did, because if Sean wins, it's going to be an immediate rematch, I imagine, for Izzy. Maybe not, but I imagine so. But if Izzy wins and Khamzat just blows him out, yeah, like I really am a fan of Duplessis. I hope he gets a shot. But my point is, I feel like he's super overdue for a title shot. He's so good, it's crazy. But anyways, very exciting. So that's a super cool fight. And now let's take us to the last topic of the show. Another huge, I mean, so many fights have been announced. There's so many things that we haven't even touched on that are going on that are really cool. But let's talk about Jones versus Stipe. Theoretically, John Jones's retirement fight is what people are anticipating. I think this is scheduled for Madison Square Garden in November. Is that right? Yeah. So
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
So Jones versus Stipe. Some people are here. Hold on, I'm going to mute you guys. There's a little bit of background noise. Let me mute this. So we got Jones versus Stipe. It's going to be a super exciting fight at least for me, from the standpoint of Stipe has been widely considered the greatest heavyweight of all time, right? In that weight division, weight class. Jones is going to fight him. Justin, let me turn over to you. What are your thoughts on this matchup, and what do you see going down?
I mean, I think it's an incredible matchup for Jones, especially if it's a retirement fight. Stipe is a great fighter. He's won me a lot of cash. But at the end of the day, he hasn't beat a guy in the top 5, and it's been a long, long time. I think Daniel Cormier was probably the last guy he beat, and how long ago was that? He gets brutally knocked out by Francis. I think they're just setting John Jones up for success here. I don't even see any videos of Stipe training. I'm not seeing any, and I follow Stipe on Instagram. I'm not seeing any hard training videos. I know Stipe is coming out. He goes, I'm going to beat him in everything. I'm going to beat him in striking. I'm going to beat him in wrestling. I'm going to beat him in grappling. It's like, I mean, you say that, but I mean, I honestly think the UFC is just kind of serving him up for John Jones' retirement fight. I think John runs right through him, and everyone's like, oh my God, he beat the greatest heavyweight of all time. It's like, well, not really, but I mean, they have to sell it somehow. I mean, I think John Jones is great, but at the end of the day, the UFC needs him to win. They can't lose John. They can't have John Jones lose right now, especially to Stipe, who hasn't beat somebody in the top 5 in a long. I mean, how long has it been? You can look it up. It's been a hot minute. And keep in mind, I'm a huge Stipe fan. Like, I love Stipe. I think he's a great guy. He's a firefighter. When I'm done fighting, I want to be Stipe. I want to go into the fire department. He's somebody that I look up to. Somebody in the gym. But at the end of the day, the opinion in the fight base doesn't matter how you feel about a person, man. I'd love for Stipe to beat Jones. Unfortunately, I think he's being served up by the UFC.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with that. And I mean, I don't have a problem with it per se either, because I still think on paper, just the fact of saying, hey, greatest heavyweight of all time. Yeah, he's been out of the mix. He's a little bit I think he's just hit 40, right? So it's there's that. But I still like it because it's got that clout of this amazing reputation, and it'll kind of solidify Jones's legacy. Ben, what are your thoughts? And Ben, I think you were motioning with numbers. You're saying like Stipe hasn't won in a certain amount of time. What were you saying?
I think it's been about 3 years since he's fought someone in the top 5 and won. I'm not sure. I think he took a bit of a layoff, and then he fought Francis, and Francis just kind of no-showed him.
Right. But okay, and let's talk about that. Okay, let's say the fight goes as we imagine. Jones wins, boom. Francis, okay, there's still a chance. There's still a chance that we could get like, do you even think this is in the realm of possibility at this point? Francis coming back to the UFC after all this, and I mean, what do you think? What would you give
I
us a
don't
chance?
I don't think Francis goes back to the UFC. I don't think Dana White wants him. He does for money, obviously, but I think Jones is gonna retire, and then in like a year or two, he's gonna come out of retirement and fight Francis in the PFL.
Oh, man,
Wow.
Justin, what do you think? Yeah, give
I
us your
mean,
thoughts.
that was I never thought about that before, but I mean that would be set up perfect. And you know what? Let me give a shout out to Big Ray Sefo, my big brother, locker buddy next to me, president of the PFL. They're doing some amazing things, and I'm very fortunate to have my locker right next to his because I get all the inside information before it's public. And I'm not saying anything, but they're going to have a huge budget here where the PFL in the next couple of years, maybe 1 year, will have a budget to afford that fight. And with the PFL, dissolving Bellator and taking all those guys, like, I mean, there's a lot of crazy shit happening right now in the gym. And, fortunately in the position I'm in, being at Extreme Couture, knowing all these high guys, being right next to Francis Ngannou, right next to Sean Strickland. I mean, right next to Ray Sefo, right. I mean, we talk every day, and to hear some of the things that are coming in the future is just insane. The PFL, I mean, dude, you got to think like, I always look back at like Blockbuster. Blockbuster movie. If you remember, I know you remember Blockbuster. Ben doesn't, but I do. Like Blockbuster, I think Netflix tried to sell to Blockbuster, and Blockbuster, oh, we're not worried about that. And now what's Blockbuster? Ben doesn't even know what Blockbuster is, and Netflix is taking over. And that's what I feel the PFL is coming in. They're coming in low under the radar. They're staying humble. And, in the next 10 years, they might be the dominant MMA organization in the world.
That's so crazy. And it's exciting. It's like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, man, it's like some of the things I hear, in the locker bay is just like, no fucking way. And what's crazy is there's been a couple things that Ray has said to me and in passing that it's like, nah, no way. And next thing I see, like this $1 million tournament. When I first heard about that before it was public, I was like, they're going to pay $1 million to 8 people in a season. We'll see. And here they are. And now they're talking about raising it to 2 million, raising it to 5 million, raising it to $10 million.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, we're talking about, if you remember the movie The Warrior, like this is an insane amount of money. And the backers the PFL has, they can afford that John Jones, Francis Ngannou fight in the future.
That is like a dream. The only thing is I would imagine the UFC, whatever they've done with Jones's contract, there's no way that they're going to let him out to fight anywhere else. I would be shocked if they would. Maybe they would, maybe somehow.
I mean, how long are no competes? 1 year? Just like Ben said, he might retire for a year or two and then show up on a free agent, because I don't think, and you would know better than I do, I don't think you can have a lifetime non-compete.
Well, here's what I believe. Here's how. No, you can't. Non-competes are really tricky to enforce, but I believe usually the way it works is that I think the way that it works, we should ask Jesse because he probably knows this for sure, but I believe it's like, well, I'm just going to mute you for a second, a little background noise. So I believe the way it works is like, they'll say, hey, you've got 4 fights left on your contract. So they'll give you like, especially for somebody like Jones, who's such a champ, such a well-known name, they'll be like, all right, we're going to give you this next fight at, let's say, I'm just making this up, like 6 million or 8 million or whatever, but you got to sign a 4-fight deal. But then they'll do it so that, like he's planning to retire after Stipe. I imagine he's got multiple fights still left on his contract after he beats Stipe, but he may not want to fight those fights. So then in that case, he's technically, even if he quote unquote retires, he's still under contract. He's got to finish those multiple fights before he fights elsewhere. I think that's kind of what happened with Nate Diaz, but then Nate Diaz actually fought him out. He was going to fight KHAMZAT. He was going to do things he didn't want to do to get out of the contract. So I think he could theoretically get out of it, but it's going to be multiple fights where he may not want to take those. That's my guess,
Sure.
But anyways, bottom line is, from fan perspective, what an amazing fight Jones versus Ngannou would be. Oh, like it would beat everything. I think it would even beat Conor versus KHAMZAT after all the stuff that's happened. I mean, come on, it'd be crazy. But anyways, let's see what happens. All right, we've gone on long enough on all these really fun topics. Thank you guys both for joining. Thank you everybody for joining. We're still trying to grow. We're still trying to get bigger. So spread the word. We're going to be Ben's going to be more involved, and we're going to be doing a lot more stuff on the show. So thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy. All right, hold on.
So